Welcome to episode 11. Today, we're diving into a law that makes people uncomfortable, but if you understand it, it will completely reframe how you view power. Law 11. Learn to keep people dependent on you.
It sounds manipulative at first. That's why most people resist it. But Greene isn't saying control people for fun. He's saying if you want to maintain power, don't make yourself replaceable. Dependence is leverage.
And it's true in every arena: business, relationships, politics, influence. The more people need you, the more protected your position becomes. The moment they can do it without you, your value drops.
Exactly. This law is about strategic relevance. It's about making sure you're not just useful, but essential, not easily swapped, not easily ignored.
And that starts with building assets around you that only you can provide, whether that's knowledge, access, skills, insight, or emotional stability, something they can't get anywhere else, or at least not as easily.
Let's be clear, this isn't about trapping people. It's about being so valuable, so irreplaceable, that your presence becomes a need, not a luxury.
Think of the top leaders, entrepreneurs, strategists. They don't just provide value. They build ecosystems where their involvement is the glue. If they pull out, the structure shifts.
And Greene pushes this idea further. He says that even loyalty is tied to dependence. People aren't loyal to you just because they like you. They stay close when leaving would cost them something.
That's harsh but accurate. If someone can walk away from you and nothing in their world changes, you never had power. You had proximity.
That's why the smartest players in any game always ask, how do I make myself indispensable here? It's not about being liked, it's about being necessary.
And it requires strategic patience. You don't become indispensable overnight. You build it brick by solving problems no one else sees, creating systems no one else understands, and holding space no one else can replicate.
So this law, at its core, is about positioning, not just what you do, but how you design your presence in someone's life, business, or system in a way that makes your absence feel like a loss. One of the biggest misconceptions about this law is that it's inherently negative, but dependence isn't always about control. It can also be about value creation. When you become a person who consistently delivers outcomes that matter, people naturally rely on you.
And that's the ethical version of this law. It's not about manipulation, it's about becoming so good at what you do, so precise in how you move, that people recognize your presence as essential. That's earned power.
Exactly. You're not forcing anyone to stay, you're giving them a reason to. And that's where true influence begins, when people stay because they don't want to lose what you bring to the table.
But Greene also warns us, if you don't cultivate that dynamic, people will outgrow you, or worse, replace you. If they realize they can get the same results elsewhere for less resistance, they will walk.
It's brutal, but it's how the world works. That's why power is not just about what you do. It's about how hard you are to replace. Are you a technician, or are you the system itself?
And here's the flip side. If you give away everything, if you make yourself completely accessible, if you train everyone to do what you do without anchoring yourself as a unique node in that system, they won't need you anymore.
And that's when you get discarded, forgotten, or sidelined, not because they stopped liking you, but because they stopped needing you.
That's the painful truth. People are loyal to their needs, not their memories. If you want power, don't rely on affection, rely on function. Be the missing piece, not the optional extra.
Now, to be clear, this doesn't mean hoard information. It means design your role in such a way that even if others learn from you, your position stays vital. Think of it like architecture. The more load-bearing you are, the harder it is to remove you.
And this applies across the board, in a company, in a partnership, in creative teams, even in friendships. Ask, if I step out of this, what happens? If the answer is not much, you have no real leverage.
It's a tough question, but it's the one that separates people who maintain power from those who just taste it temporarily. Let's take this into real life.
In business, for example, some people focus on becoming experts in one narrow area, but forget to connect that expertise to the bigger system. So they're smart, but replaceable. You want to be more than a skill. You want to be the glue.
That's the difference between being valuable and being vital. Valuable means people appreciate you. Vital means things don't move without you. That's where power lives.
And it's not just about technical skill. Sometimes your value is relational. You're the person who keeps the team balanced. You're the one people trust with difficult conversations. That kind of emotional reliability becomes leverage if you recognize it.
But if you don't protect that positioning, people start thinking they can recreate it without you. And once they believe that, your power starts bleeding out.
This also shows up in relationships. If you're always giving, always adapting, always making things easy without building any weight in the relationship, you become easy to walk away from, not because you weren't good, but because you didn't anchor any true need.
Exactly. And it's not about withholding love or support. It's about creating value boundaries, making sure that what you bring isn't taken for granted, that your presence means something beyond convenience.
And that's where many people miss the mark. They confuse generosity with power, but unchecked generosity often leads to imbalance, and in power dynamics, imbalance always gets corrected, usually at your expense.
So Greene's advice is this: don't be afraid to make people need you, not by force, but by design. Create systems where your contribution is foundational. Build connections that highlight your unique strengths. Let people feel the difference when you're not around.
And the key word here is sustainability. You don't want to burn yourself out trying to be indispensable. That's not the point. The point is to shape your role in a way that holds weight, not just for others, but for yourself.
Because when you know you're essential, you negotiate differently. You stop begging for permission. You stop over-explaining your worth. You move with quiet leverage.
And you start getting treated accordingly, not out of fear, not out of pity, but out of recognition that your presence changes the room.
Now let's talk about the shadow side of this law. Because if you take it too far, if the goal becomes total control, you cross into manipulation, and that always backfires, eventually.
That's the line Greene walks carefully. He's not telling you to make people weak. He's telling you to be strong in a way that creates relevance. But some people hear this law and start playing puppet master. That's not power. That's fear disguised as strategy.
Exactly. Because the moment your power depends on keeping others disempowered, you've already lost. You've built a structure that requires constant maintenance, constant control, and that's fragile.
True power builds mutual advantage. You create systems where others benefit, but they can't move forward without you. It's not domination, it's design.
And in the long game, people sense the difference. If you empower them, teach them, elevate them, but still hold a unique position they can't replicate, they respect you. If you suppress them, they resent you.
That resentment may stay quiet for a while, but it grows. And the day they no longer need you, they leave, and they don't look back. Or worse, they sabotage on the way out.
So the smarter move is to design healthy dependency, not desperation, not fear-based control, but a strategic interdependence, where your presence makes things better, faster, smoother, more effective.
Think of it like architecture again. You're not trying to be the whole building. You're the pillar that holds a section of the structure. Remove you, and there's impact, but your presence adds value, not surveillance.
That also keeps you free. Because when you don't have to force people to stay, when your value is felt and chosen, you're operating from strength, not fear.
And ironically, that kind of power is harder to challenge because people don't just need you, they want you there. That's a different level of loyalty.
It also makes you more durable. People move around, priorities change, circumstances shift. But if your value is built into the system, not just the personalities, you remain relevant no matter what changes.
That's the mindset shift. Stop asking, how can I control this person? And start asking, how can I structure my presence so that it's too valuable to lose?
That's the real win. Power that doesn't need force, because its absence speaks louder than any threat. Let's talk about one of the most underrated ingredients in this kind of strategic power, consistency. Because people don't become dependent on what's impressive, they become dependent on what's reliable.
Right. You can be the most talented person in the room, but if people can't count on you, you're not indispensable, you're unpredictable, and that's not the same thing.
That's the irony. A lot of people chase attention to prove their value, but attention fades. What stays is trust, and trust is built through consistent delivery, not dramatic impact.
So, if you want to apply this law well, ask yourself, where am I quietly irreplaceable? Where do people know without having to ask that I'll come through?
It's not always glamorous. Sometimes it's the unsexy stuff. Being on time, meeting deadlines, holding people accountable, keeping things moving. That's the foundation of strategic dependence, not flair, but follow-through.
And don't underestimate emotional consistency either. In a world full of reactivity, being the calm presence, the one who doesn't panic, doesn't lash out, doesn't spiral, that becomes a powerful stabilizer.
That's why some people get promoted or elevated even when they're not the most skilled, because others feel safer with them. They project control. That's silent influence, and that kind of influence builds long-term dependence.
Another point, people don't stay dependent on what you once did. You have to keep evolving, keep refining, because power is dynamic. If you stagnate, your value erodes quietly, even if no one says it out loud.
Exactly. This law rewards people who don't get comfortable. You make yourself indispensable today, but you stay indispensable by constantly increasing your edge, your perspective, your usefulness.
And the moment you feel entitled to someone's loyalty, you've already started losing it. You're not owed relevance. You maintain it through continued excellence.
So this isn't just about power over others, it's about power with yourself, the discipline to stay sharp, the foresight to stay ahead, the maturity to lead without needing to dominate.
And once you understand that, you stop chasing validation. You stop proving. You just show up in a way that people feel and don't want to lose.
So here's the bottom line. Dependence isn't about control. It's about relevance, about positioning yourself in such a way that your presence becomes essential, not optional.
And it's not about being feared or idolized. It's about being needed strategically, because people protect what they need. They invest in it. They make space for it, and they don't discard it lightly.
That's the kind of influence that lasts. Not flashy, not forceful, but rooted. You become part of how things work, and that gives you leverage that no title, no popularity, no temporary win can ever replace.
And Greene is clear. If you want to maintain power in any structure, you have to engineer it, not wait for it. You design your role, you define your value, and you reinforce it through results, consistency, and evolution.
This isn't about creating fear of loss. It's about creating evidence of value. You show up in such a way that people ask themselves, how would this run without them? And if the answer is, it wouldn't, that's your leverage.
So here's the reflection for this week. Where in your life are you valuable but not vital? Where are you being appreciated but not protected? Where could you restructure your presence to shift from helpful to irreplaceable?
It's not about arrogance, it's about design. Start looking at your relationships, your career, your creative projects, not through the lens of how liked you are, but how necessary your presence is.
And start taking ownership of that positioning. Stop hoping people notice your value. Build systems that depend on it. Stop waiting for a seat at the table. Become the reason the table exists.
If this episode hit you in a real way, let us know in the comments. Where are you rethinking your value? Where are you done being replaceable?
And if you're finding power in these episodes, share it. Send it to someone who's building something serious, because these aren't just ideas, they're tools.
Next episode, we're breaking down Law 12. Use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim, and it's exactly as sharp as it sounds.
Until then, stay intentional, stay irreplaceable.
And remember, the most secure position is the one no one else can fill.